always, what I call our moderator extraordinaire for our State of the Industry panel in San Francisco and New York. Have fun. Yeah, exactly. We're going to have fun. So straight away, we're going to stay on time here. I'm going to introduce Randall Rothenberg, the CEO of the IAB, and he'll introduce the panelists. Randall.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Let me introduce the panelists. We're going to dive right in. We want to get as much conversation, as much questioning from you as possible. To my far left, and the same joke always, I say that's geographic and not political, is Joe McCarthy. Joe is the president and CEO of Publicis New York. Next to Joe is Amy Bantz, the president of Comcast Interactive Media and a senior VP of Comcast Corporation. Over here, next to Amy, is Jeff Levick, the president of Global Advertising Strategy for AOL. And to my immediate left is Carolyn Everson, the chief operating officer and executive vice president of U.S. advertising sales for MTV Networks. Thank you for doing this. I always start this with the same icebreaker question each year. Martin was talking at a very high thought leadership level about the state of the world in our industry. I want to get down to the nitty-gritty. I want to know, in what forms of marketing, media, or advertising is your company spending or seeing spending these days? To what degree, to the degree that you're investing in the future of advertising, can you be as specific as possible about what those investments are and what kind of, what you expect in terms of a payoff? Carolyn, let me start with you just because you're right here.
Okay. From an MTV Networks perspective, we're investing, I would say, in 4 key areas that relate to the media business. One is more on the operational side with yield optimization, making the best use of our inventory. It may be the least sexy part of the investment side, but it is one that is yielding financial results, both on the linear as well as the digital side. The second area is measurement. You heard from Martin, I'm sure you're going to hear throughout the next 2 days, measurement is a hot topic for everyone, and we believe we need to provide tools for our advertisers to measure really the ROI on our own platforms and helping them to understand how to balance between linear, digital, VOD, mobile within Viacom's properties. So measurement's the second area. The third is on emerging platforms, and we have a long-term view of that with respect to interactive TV and the merging, obviously, of online video and linear. We don't see that as something that's going to return a lot in the next couple of years. That market continues to be very slow to develop, and it's an important one for us and our advertisers. And the fourth area is creative. We are a content company, true within, and all of our investment in programming and creative and branding for our own brands to make sure Nickelodeon, MTV, Comedy Central, etc., are as vital to the consumers today as they have always been. And so those are the 4 areas of investment that we've seen. From a marketer perspective and spending on our platforms, we see a lot of activity from the retail, department store, and the auto category became healthy again, really with respect to cash for clunkers, but we're starting to see sort of a new life coming out of Detroit, which we're excited about. The movie studio and the video game category continues to be very strong. People seem to be flocking to entertainment, even in the recession period. There are some categories that are weak, and you would expect some of them, mostly around more high-end goods and some of the financial categories. But again, starting to come back.
Great. I love your 4 focuses because they're all IAB strategic initiatives from 2009 and 2010. We can talk about that later. Jeff, where are you seeing spending? Where are you investing, and where are you seeing your advertisers investing?
So we're actually down to 3 major focus areas. So I'd say the biggest investment as well as strategic focus for us as a company is in content. And it really is, it's the one thing I think that Martin actually didn't touch on this morning, and the importance of high quality, highly scaled, premium content on the web. And it's our belief that there's a lack of focus on great content, a lack of focus on sort of producing information that people truly care about at massive scale. So we're really focused on becoming the world's largest digital publisher in the world. That being audacious enough, the second big area is also focus on advertising and the best way to monetize that content. And when we talk about how we think about advertising, we're really focused on brand-based advertising. We think there's already great players in the direct response space. We partner with those companies, but really focus on brands and the interweaving of brands with this content. And the last area of major focus for us is really in communications and applications. And this is, leveraging some of the great assets and tools that we have at the company in email and instant message and messaging tools in general, and focus on this emerging category, but not necessarily looking at them as standalone applications, really understanding the use of these communication tools as it relates to the dissemination and distribution of content and advertising. So really all three of these work really closely together. I'd say that's our major bets and our major investment areas. From the advertising side, I think some of the areas that we're seeing because of this of great focus right now is that there's clearly great interest. Detroit, it's great to see the automotive category coming back. Consumer packaged goods, I'd say, for the first time, really peeking their head above the fold in digital, more so than ever before. I think the CPG companies have always said they want to move the money online. I think we're really starting to see that shift taking place, and we think that the focus on brand and the focus on content is really going to be a big supporter of that.
Great. Amy, what are you seeing? I mean, where are you making strategic investments, and where are you seeing your marketers, your marketing partners doing?
Despite the economy over the past year, we've actually seen some remarkable success under the leadership of our Scott Schiller and with the help of our friends from Spotlight, both in entertainment and in local, which dovetails nicely with what we've just heard here. On the entertainment side, we are very focused on building our entertainment brands and acquiring and building scale in our entertainment portfolio. So we've got both Fandango, then we have Fancast, which has become a big site in its own right. The entertainment channel of our portal, Comcast.net, which is actually a top 10 portal in terms of uniques and traffics in this country. In addition, we're working closely with our sister companies, E and G4, to create something we're looking to call Comcast Digital Entertainment. And we think there we're going to be, build enormous scale across the entertainment front, and look to be one of the, top 10, if not a top 5 entertainment portfolios. So that's been working very nicely for us. I agree. I think brands make a difference there. And I think we've invested in our brands, whether or not it's Fandango or E or Fancast. And I think that they'll continue to perform for us and perform for the people who choose to advertise with us. Then on the local front, we've seen huge, enormous success, again, through our friends at Spotlight, making use of our traffic on Comcast.net and our ability to segment it by zip code. So we think that there's huge headroom and huge opportunity on the local front as well.
Great. Joe, you're holding up the entire agency business on this panel. So what are you seeing? Where are your clients spending? And how is Publicis, under your leadership and your colleagues' leadership, how do you see Publicis making investments to grab the growth that you're seeing and anticipating?
Well, I'll answer the second part first. From a holding company point of view, Publicis Group continues to make investments, quite frankly, on the digital side. I mean, in the midst of acquiring Razorfish, a year and a half ago, we acquired Digitas and Modem, and they're committed to their aggressive revenue goals for the digital side of the equation, from current clients and new clients, and from collaborative efforts as well as pure play digital plays. The world I sort of oversee, Publicis Advertising, knock on wood, we've had a good year. We have a strong packaged goods with Procter & Gamble Foundation, makes up a big chunk of our revenue. And P&G in general looks at tough times as ways to invest in their brand. And I'm not saying every brand's investing the same as they were 3 years ago, some more, some less, but in general, they're very bullish. A second brand I'll highlight is we work with Citibank. And while Citibank was the poster child for all things wrong with the financial world, 6-9 months ago, they've stayed the course in terms of their spending. Now they're communicating different messages, they're talking to different constituents, so they've rethought everything on how to come to market, but they're still investing. So knock on wood, we're having a pretty good year.
So already there's a theme developing on this panel, which is quite interesting. We're in an environment, the audience is deeply fascinated. We're in an environment where everybody has been concerned about CPMs going down and under pressure, about whether media brands have any kind of future at all, or whether everything is about audiences divorced from brands and about pressure on branded content. Yet you are all either investing in it or you're really devoted to it. Jeff, I want to ask you first, because AOL was one of the first to do a big network play with advertising.com. Why this focus on content? You seem to be zigging while everyone else is zagging. What's going on?
I don't think anyone really, no one is laser focused on content, right? I mean, anyone who goes and reads today's news online, and you go to 10 other sites, you're basically 9 times out of 10 reading the same story with a different headline or with 5 words changed. So, in essence, our belief is that there isn't really anyone focused on producing great quality content at massive scale. And at the end of the day, advertising sits next to content. That's what keeps consumers engaged. That's what gives advertisers safe places to put their brands. That's what raises the entire internet ecosystem, is having great content on the web. So we think that's our role and that's our purpose as a company, is to produce great content, and I should say at all levels, both at mass scale, so broad purpose of content, at niche audiences in terms of things that people really care about. So, having unique brands for particular audiences, and then very much at local content as well. So I'd say local is a really big play in all this. We're really, I think that everyone's sort of looking at, touching on, but it's very much the white space on the web.
I want to follow up with both of you on local, but I want to get to you, Carolyn, because on the zigging and zagging front, one thing you didn't mention was MTVN's investment in networks. You've built a network called MTV Tribes. How does this fit in to your focus on proprietary brands like MTV and Nickelodeon? What's the balance between this? Help us understand.
So the heritage of our company has always been investing in content and strong brands. It's what's built a $4 billion U.S. advertising business, so we're not going to deviate from that. What we found from our advertisers was they were saying they trusted our content, they trusted the context that we were giving, but they wanted more scale. So perfect example, we want to target moms. If I'm P&G, I want to target moms. We love your Parents Connect site, but could you also expand that scale? They love the fact that we have provided the filter to select the right blogging sites, the right small niche content sites, and what we formed is called a tribe. So we sell to a Procter & Gamble a parenting tribe, and they get 4 things from that, right? They get context because they know we've screened it. They get relevance and they're comfortable with the brand. It's an efficiency play for them because they're going to pay a premium CPM on our core sites, owned and operated, and probably a little bit of a lower CPM across the network. And they feel that it is trusted. They have confidence in the brand that we have selected that. So for us, our zigzagging was always being true to our content and our brands, but figuring out how to scale and get larger share of budgets by expanding to the tribes. And it's been really successful. We've got about 240 publishers that are signed up, everything from male tribes, millennials, parents, all the demos that you would think would go in our portfolio. And publishers are really eager to be part of a pure vertical branded network as opposed to getting the 25-cent CPMs in these mass networks. We deliberately did not go into that business. We went into a premium network business that fit in line with our content and brands.
It sounds like this is actually a very similar strategy, that it's kind of a Hollywood finance
Great
model.
strategy.
It's exactly what it's basically what we've done, is connected great content with massive scale. That's the purpose of having your own content, but also leveraging a network strategy as well. And that's pretty much the purpose of ad.com for us as well.
Joe, you're not a media agency person. You're a creative and a strategist. So, but from your work you were at Johnson & Johnson. You know packaged goods as well as anybody in the United States in an agency. You were at J&J. Came back a year ago to the agency business. You're now working with Procter. Does that sound valid, or do you think that really what your clients want is not so much content, but to get to that audience, that person in the audience, wherever, at the lowest possible price?
I would say if I had to pick from those two, I'd say they want context and content. Associating your brand with a branded entertainment or an information resource or destination, I think is critical. That's why some people want to be on the MTV Movie Awards. They'll pay a premium for that on TV, the Super Bowl. So we're your brand. And prior to J&J, back in the 90s, I was at Nike. And we valued quite a bit the environment we put certain communication on. So I think that still holds true. Having said that, I think people want efficiency, and people, in some cases, some brands might have a percent of its spend in a more, maximize the eyeballs strategy. But if I had to choose one, I'd say the direction these guys are talking about is spot on.
If I may, I
Yeah.
think it's a reflection of a consumer trend. I think the internet is no longer just a search and discovery tool. I think the internet is becoming more and more a consumption tool. And, as it becomes a consumption tool, you're going to have the ability for big brands to establish themselves just like they did on the television set. People are coming, and they're coming to these brands, and they're staying on these brands, and giving advertisers a great opportunity to reach their customers there.
It's a great point I'd love to pursue, because I think always in the media and advertising business, and I'm old enough to have gone through, I was just telling somebody, this is my 4th recession, or maybe my 5th as an adult. And we've been covering a lot of pendulum swinging in the agency business and the media business. The pendulum for years has now been, and Sir Martin mentioned it, it's Google's universe, which assumes that it's all about search, and that's it. But you're kind of implying, all of you, that people will start having their channel preferences. Even when we get up to, we're at 2,000 cable channels now, even when we get up to 1 billion channels on interactive television, that they'll still be going straight to you. I'm not sure I can reconcile this. I'm not sure I can reconcile what seems to be the power of search and the power of brands as destinations. I mean, how do you think the next couple of years are going to play out in terms of where, and how consumers make their choices?
I think there's two things there. I think that brands are going to have to work a lot harder to be fully destination sites, whether that be on linear or on the web, because what people may be searching for is a particular piece of content or a show or a talent that they're following, right? So that is going to make the actual brand have to work a lot harder for that. However, what search doesn't give the consumer, and we still find the consumer wants very much, is discovery. And so somebody that winds up on either an online experience on MTV or linear is going to see a new band that they may never have heard of, that they wouldn't have even known to search for. A child turns on Nickelodeon and doesn't know to search for the new Ni Hao Kai Lan that just came out, but it's on and they become engaged. And so there is an element of discovery that I think is essential. But it is absolutely going to depend on how great the content is on those particular channels, whether they be linear or video, in terms of keeping the consumer engaged.
Let me ask it even more bluntly. In a search-based world, and Joe, I'm going to come to you on this, I think. In a search-based world where we can presumably target messages to people directly based on their interests, is creativity just still important at all? Does it have value in marketing communications?
Bluntly, without a doubt. I mean, really, it's one-on-one. You get to me, I can get you through the pipes, I can get there, but depending how I as a brand engage with you, makes or breaks a transaction, a brand equity. If I ring a doorbell at a house and I'm there and I'm drab and I don't pitch myself correctly, if I don't give the right proposition with the right tone of voice, I'm not going to make the same impression as if I came in a more dynamic way, a more creative way. So I think it's all about the brand interacting with that desirable target you just talked about. But to get there and to either just be sort of left brain oriented and give the facts like a classified ad and think the job is done, I think is naive.
I think the reason why you hear us talking about content so much is that search is the navigation tool to get you from point A to point B. So, if the first phase of the internet was getting people online, and the second phase of the internet was helping people navigate it, and sort of the pipe has been built and people are online, and now you've got major platforms to help you get around it. The third phase of the internet is about producing great information where people can actually spend more time, engage with information, engage with brands, engage with writers, engage with things that they care about. That's where this sort of next wave of, we believe at least, the next wave of the internet's going, is it filling the pipe with great information and content. And that's where creativity is the most important, where it's not just about brands, putting their logos up or taking their broadcast ads and slapping on the internet. This is where brands have to really think about what is my real authentic marketing, what is my real authentic message that I have. I have to understand these audiences. I have to understand what they're doing online. And I have to think differently about the programs that I'm going to bring to the web. I mean, I'd say that the early things we're seeing around this is what I'd say this area of content co-creation, where brands are actually working with publishers not to do advertorial style content, but really think about their audience and the kind of information they know their audience wants, but that their audience doesn't actually, there's no form for it online. So actually working with publishers to create the kind of information that they know their consumers care about that doesn't even exist.
Amy, you've been building, acquiring and building digital native sites. You mentioned Fandango, Fancast, others. You come from an environment, a television environment, that really has been based on one-way push programming that succeeds in no small part because of just distribution. I mean, you're out there in front of millions upon millions of people. Does this notion of co-creation that both Carolyn and Jeff are talking about, does that kind of have relevance to your to Comcast?
Absolutely. I think it's why we're so intrigued with the internet right now and the online space, because historically it has been all a push mechanism, but what the internet affords you, what online brands afford you, is an interactivity that we've never seen before. So if you'll indulge a promotion on my part of Fancast, you come to Fancast, if you're an endemic advertiser and you've got, it's MTV and MTV has a new series they want to promote, you can have a beautiful sort of banner going with on the cover and say, press here to play, consume right now, or to record to your DVR. I mean, that kind of sort of immediate interaction with the customer, I think is ideal.
Right, but there's still, I want to push you. I want to push you all, because there's still an elephant in the room. It's not NBC Comcast. I'm not going to ask you about that. It really is about direct marketing. And this comes up all the time. We're talking about brands. We're talking about bringing brand advertising budgets on. But we know that the interactive, the internet, has really developed largely as a direct response medium. We're all trying to build branding on top of that, but the advertisers keep coming back, your clients, keep coming back and saying, yes, they want to build brands, but they want to measure their effectiveness and compensate their media using direct marketing metrics and techniques. So how do you persuade the ultimate financer, the advertiser, that the forms of brand building in which we've engaged for years actually are still worth paying for in that way?
And the reason why advertisers are demanding that, and they should, is because we've taught them to do that, right? With respect to digital, we've shown them quantitative measurements. How many streams, how many click-throughs. We boiled it down to numbers in a spreadsheet, and so that is what they are asking for. But what they are really asking for, right, underneath all of it, is the consumer engaged with my brand? Am I moving the needle? Am I going down to the purchase funnel and getting somebody that had consideration to actually buy my product, but even more than buy my product, are they going to become a fan of that product and then a fanatic and get all their other friends in the social media environment to care about that product? And so what is lacking at the moment is really good measurement to show how we're bringing people through the funnel. Once we provide that for an advertiser, honestly, I don't think an advertiser cares how many people are clicking on their banner. They care about how many Pepsi bottles have I sold in Walmart in the last 24 hours, and did your promotion move people to make that choice? Or did Taco Bell move the consumer because their advertising was creative and at different times of the day to consider Taco Bell, at late night purchase? They really, truly don't care about some of these measurements that we all talk about. It's just that, unfortunately, I think as the industry grew up, very quickly, this was the data we had, and we said this is the holy grail. The internet is measurable. Look at this. TV, you don't know how, you don't know what's measurable beyond a Nielsen CPM. So I think we've sort of caused this problem as an industry, and it's our job to figure out how to get out of it and get to a point where you really can show engagement through the purchase funnel.
Amy, you mentioned that one of your top investments is in measurement tools. Is that the way you think it's going to develop with big companies like Comcast or Viacom, developing their own proprietary measurement tools for measuring what they do for clients?
Yeah, I didn't mean to suggest that we ourselves are investing in our proprietary measurement tools, but measurement is a big issue for us. And we think for the industry, we very much believe, as I said earlier, that people, are moving online in increasing numbers to consume, not only to search, but to consume. The programmers should get credit for that consumption. The content creators should get credit for that consumption, and we as an industry need to work with the Nielsen's of this world in order to get them that recognition.
Joe, as somebody who's working with clients on this all the time, how are you finding on the agency side? And you're not a direct marketer by background. So how do you experience both the tyranny of the click from an agency perspective, and how do you, what are the most successful conversations with marketers about this disparity between direct response and brand marketing?
Well, I just want to echo, I do think the digital industry, sort of did it to themselves, or live by the sword, die by it. Advertising or brand communication was always the evil empire, and now I can measure, therefore that's better, therefore that one linear click is all that it takes. And I really don't believe it's either or. It's digital versus analog, on versus off. And I think the best brand marketers, the ones that invest in their brands, want constituents. They want people, passion groups that are relevant to their target. They want to find them. Now, through the internet, they can find them more than ever in history. And they can tailor messages, they can enter into conversations. So I don't think it's a direct response versus brand, because I fundamentally believe everything a brand does, every touch point, every behavior affects the brand. So if I just show up in direct response all the time, that's kind of how people perceive my brand, or P&G's brand, or whatever. So I really don't think it's either or.
I had a CMO say to me last week, it was this great line. He said, I don't know why we're making this distinction between direct response and brand. He said, we all want a response, right? Like the notion that there are these two worlds. He's like, I want to elicit a response, engage my consumer, and have them buy a product. Just like Bose wants you to click on an ad and buy, the ear, what are they called?
The
earphones, headphones, yes. So he was like just making he said, we've created these distinctions in a false way, and it's really not an either or. I totally agree with Joe.
Well, I remember when I was first covering the agency business back in the mid '80s, and I would have a lot of that was the middle of the second creative revolution, and we'd have all these agency folks kind of just absolutely confidently affirm to me, direct marketing cannot build brands. And stupidly, I said, well, then what's LLB? And I found that there actually is this culture of separation in belief systems and operations and processes. Kind of what we've done with interactivity, with interactive fuel, is we've kind of muddied the purchase funnel and shown that these sharp divisions aren't really as sharp as we thought they were. We did a lightning round of questions when we did this in San Francisco. I want to ask you some very quick answer questions. So take off your thinking caps and go with your gut. Last year at this time, everybody in the video space was talking about Hulu. What will they be talking about a year from now in the video space?
Fantastic.
See, that's the kind of quick answer we like. Anyone else?
I actually don't know, and I'm not sure I care. I want to know what's happening, where audiences are going. If these guys are successful building these branded content and the consumers I'm after, my brands are after, I'll go there. But to project what's the technology or platform du jour is sort of, I think we waste too much time kind of guessing at that.
Let me ask you, Bill.
I would just say it's how to make money on it, right? So that's the thing that we have to figure out, because we're investing a lot in content and online video, and right now with the ad loads and even the CPMs, which are at a significant premium to linear, the economics still don't work in the way that we all need them to work. So I personally want us over the next year to crack that code because it'll benefit everyone.
So another quick follow-up on this. Digital video is obviously a big growth platform, but even the most widely viewed YouTube video gets about 4 million viewers compared to 25 million for a hit TV show. How are you going to hop that hurdle, Jeff? You're going to be doing a lot of...
Again, it goes back to premium quality content. And again, YouTube is an aggregation of people who like to post. It's sort of the lowest rung of video in the sense that anyone can put it there, which is great and highly engaging. But that's not, from a monetization point of view, or I should say from a top brand point of view, that's not necessarily the fastest way to get P&G to spend money, which is to sponsor crazy videos. So I do think that from where video is going in this sense, it is focused on premium content. Content means written, content means video, content means all different forms, and then making the higher focus on quality is what's going to drive the right formats, the right spend, the right advertisers. And I think you'll see a lot. I don't think there's going to be a one big panacea moment a year from now. I think what you'll start to see is a diving in the pool, but not into one from big brand advertisers, but not into one single place. I think you'll start seeing them make bets on certain companies where they can really dig deep, whether it's a Viacom or an AOL or otherwise. You'll start to see them really invest in more partnerships with media partners.
Let me turn to another topic that's much in the news these days. It's about free versus paid content. So I'll suggest that the answer to the question free versus paid is yes. But let's ask a more serious question. What do you think will be the capabilities or characteristics that will define the most successful free content or the most successful paid content? There'll be both models. We all know it. What will it take as a company for you to succeed in drawing users and advertisers, either way, and for you as an advertiser representative to want to move to either a free or a paid site? Anyone?
Well, I mean, the big
Sorry for talking.
I think our belief to really support free content in a massive, scalable way, the answer is technology. Actually, it's technology understanding truly the value of the content and being able to assess the value of what it costs to procure it, based upon what you think the value is and what you're able to actually sell it for. And that's where traditional publishing is that's what's ailing the industry right now, is the inability to publish at massive scale in a profitable way. So this is where technology, and I think this is where the internet is a huge opportunity to really link both sides of both content and consumptions, understand the values, and then price it properly.
I would say for our perspectives, we believe in both models. We're pursuing both. We are paid by our affiliate partners, which is a very important piece to our business. It allows us to create the content for the consumers that they want. And it is our job to figure out what to do from an online video perspective and an online experience around gaming that we can create subscriptions to those services that consumers really want. Again, it comes down to, are people going to be willing to pay for it? What is your unique differentiation in the marketplace? A lot of sites right now that we just talked about earlier in the beginning of the panel where you can go to 10 sites and see essentially the same content, no one's paying for that. So you've got to figure out a way to stand out and differentiate yourself, but we believe both models that exist. We believe very strongly in the subscription model. It's obviously a key part to our business.
We definitely agree with that. I think that it's inevitable that there will be free content and there will be paid content, and I think that the paid content will distinguish itself both in terms of the quality of the content, the premium content, the content that costs a lot of money to produce, for which people have paid in the past and will be willing to continue to pay in the future. I also think that consumption, how you consume it, is it on demand? Is it without advertising? Is it with a lesser advertising load? Will play into a person's ability or willingness to pay as well. So I think I think yes, they'll be both free and paid. I think on the pay there'll be subscription as well as continue to be a la carte, as we've seen already. And I think that when you go to pay, you will also be paying not only for the quality of the content, but the different ways to consume the content.
There's another tantalizing problem out in the marketplace, and that is social media. All the research we've done at IAB, beginning with the Marketing Media Ecosystems 2010 study that Booz did for us several years ago, and the forthcoming work, Building Brands Online, that Bain has done for us, really indicates the highest marketer interest in two things. One is video, and the other is social media. But social doesn't particularly lend itself to traditional media planning or buying. And I'm wondering how you're going about either integrating it into your mix of products or integrating it. Joe, I'm going to go to you first. How are you integrating social thinking, social media, social marketing into what you create for your clients?
Well, in simplistic terms, there's sort of two buckets. The first is sort of getting real-time understanding of what's going on, the conversations that are happening online relative to a category, to a brand, to a set of consumers. So we're doing that on an ongoing basis, sort of monitoring that for our clients. Hopefully insights come out of that and actions taken off those insights.
Are you able to make money off of it as an agency?
We're hopeful to do that. We haven't to date, is the honest answer.
What about the rest of you? I mean, can you see making money off of social?
Well, I would have answered this the same way Joe started out. We partnered with, and we are partnering with Collective Intellect. And so what we do is we use that to inform our sales team, our marketers, before they walk in to speak with any client. We want to know what the social graph is saying about a particular product or a category before we walk in. And we've noticed that when we do it, we don't do it for everybody, but when we do it, you are 10 times smarter when you walk into that room talking to the CMO. They're like, you know what, you actually care to listen to what my consumers have been saying. And so that is a very powerful sales tool, I would say. Are we charging for it? No. We're really using it as a way to, I think, differentiate ourselves in the marketplace.
Kind of an insights engine for marketing, planning, and programming.
And then the second component we're using social media for is when we have a campaign, it used to be that you would drive everybody to a single destination. So the be-all and end-all was get everybody to nick.com or mtv.com. And of course, actually, we completely erased that. Now we're 180 opposite. And we actually want them to take our promotion with an advertiser or content and take it everywhere they're going. And so we use social media as a way to sort of drive awareness to those those marketing programs, but then we encourage everybody to take it and make it very viral. That's the goal.
Amy, Comcast is one of the drivers of the TV everywhere concept. Carolyn is suggesting that social media are actually a key component of the TV everywhere concept. I don't want to kind of leap to the answer, but do you see the same relationship between social and video?
I don't know. I mean, I think that to date we've used, social is, clearly a critical part of, an online experience at this point in time. Nobody can suggest otherwise. The way that we've been using it to date is more as a tool to gauge consumers' reactions to our products and to our marketing campaigns, for that matter. We just did a very successful marketing campaign for Fancast, and it's just a lot of fun to, as the spot is being aired on primetime television, to watch the tweets, go through the roof and watch people respond to it. So there's no doubt that it's very valuable to use in that respect.
Great. I want to go to questions from the audience. Who's out there? I'm sure there are many of you. I can't see a thing. There's a hand raised over there, I see. Run like the wind. This is...
My question was, aside from the amount of money that's spent on the content, how do you determine what is quality content? Because if a group without monetary resources is able to compete with the same kind of content in terms of the audience reach, sometimes it's not based on money. So it seems like everybody keeps saying, it's all about the best content. So how do you distinguish what is the best?
How do you leap over the low barriers? How do you've depended, almost all of you, on high barriers to entry. How do you deal with that?
I mean, first, I think you hire great people, or it starts with the person producing it. So, journalism is definitely an art form. It's not dead, and it's very alive. The model's changed. So what we've been doing is hiring top quality journalists from around the country, around the world, That's the first part. But in
But
terms of
surely
really,
there are not that many available to make these jobs.
so that's sort of, you don't have to be a top quality journalist to produce great content. I think it's also looking at other factors to understand what makes it quality. It's looking at things like engagement. How often is someone actually, how much time are they spending reading it? Do they just come to it and they leave, or is there really time spent? You look at how often it's been shared. So, do people come and they leave, or do they engage and they actually share it with other people? And then you can also look at distribution as well. How often is this content traveling around? So it's not just, it's not as simple as saying, we're producing great content. It's really looking at what they're doing with it.
I would actually maybe answer it a little bit differently, and we are actually using our audience to develop great content. And, we have a philosophy at MTV specifically, but it's sort of more broad, called open force, which is similar to crowdsourcing, whatever we want to call it these days. And the notion is that we report to the audience. We really want the audience to feel that our channels are their channels. And so we are actually encouraging and very supportive of people creating low-budget content. And if you just saw, I don't know how many of you know that Viacom owns Paramount Pictures, but Paranormal Activity is the most profitable movie ever to be made. It was made for $15,000. And I don't know where it is at the moment, but it was over $80 million when I checked about a week ago. It was made for $15,000. There was no big marketing campaign. The consumers asked to have that movie in their theaters. Now, that's lightning in a bottle. You can't get that all the time. If you could, you'd have margins that would be, completely out of control. But I would say we are very supportive of the efforts that are going on with developers out there. And it's not just about hiring people. We actually do it a little bit opposite. We're not sure we can even keep up. So we don't even try to some degree. We look at the audience and say, we want you to partner with us.
Other questions? I see a hand up here. Run, speak, just yell.
Thank you. Warren Lee, I'm with Segment. Amy, looking to the future, how do you see addressable TV impacting your bottom line with respect to brands and direct marketing?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that is a great question. I think we have high hopes for addressable TV. I think we are, I have to admit, we are only in the process of figuring out how it is all going to work and what the ultimate impact is going to be. We think that, there's the technological side to it, and, addressable TV is definitely on the forefront, and something that technologically we can do and we will be able to do. There are other questions, and I think most significantly is the privacy issue and how you marry the technology and what the technology is capable of with what the consumer wants. It's the focus on the consumer, and the consumer's interest and what the consumer wants is as important as what the technology will allow you to do.
We have time for one more question. Anybody? Over there. Yell. All leaders of fairly complicated big companies. I want to know, and you've also all worked in offline environments as well as digital environments. I want to know what single lesson you've brought either from the offline world to the online world or from the online world to the offline world that's really helping transform your organization. Joe?
Well, I think the biggest, and this will sound simpler because there's a lot of muscle memory in how we're organized today, but you got to put the brands. We have to stop having this online, offline, digital, analog. It's just the number one issue I dealt with at J&J across company group chairmen, VPs of marketing, was how friggin' hard it is to put a cohesive communications program together that celebrated digital, that celebrated traditional, and just put the brand and the consumer at the center. And there's a lot of ego, there's territorialism, there's P&L pressures, but our industry in general, I'm not just talking digital, I'm talking the communication industry, is its worst own enemy. And we have to overcome that. So, a little bit long-winded preamble, I'm trying to bring, not necessarily things back together, but people have to play with expertise more holistically together. And I know it's a cliche, but that's where it breaks down, on a day-to-day basis where things are just difficult. And I had some clients, some colleagues at J&J, they would literally not do things that were right for the brand because it was too hard. It's just not worth it.
I agree with what he said. There's two sides to every story. I think as consumers become screen agnostic, advertising and advertising campaigns need to become screen agnostic.
Great. Jeff?
I think I'm answering your question, which is from a management point of view, like a broad principle. I think the most important... I think it was a great answer. I'm going to buy 2 times. I'll take your answer all day. The other answer as well. I really think it's really about change and change management and flexibility from an org point of view. So in a business that literally is changing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, from the worst thing organizations can do in this environment is have structures or have processes or have a whole business culture that is not about change. So constantly demanding it, constantly embracing it, and constantly challenging internally whether or not you're even changing frequently enough or dramatically.
And I would say I love these answers, and Martin Searle said it, before. He said the industry is led by a lot of people that have been in it for 15, 20, 30 years, and they just want to have 2 or 3 more years and hopefully get out. We need people that want to change. We need more digital natives in leadership positions so that it's not just led by traditional conversations. And we need to get to where Joe is, which is how to find people that understand how to do a marketing communication plan regardless of the platform.
Well, it's a great final answer. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank the audience. Joe McCarthy, Amy Bench, Jeff Levick, Carolyn Everson. Thank you very much, and thank you.
Thanks again to Randall. Always does a great job. A bit of housekeeping. So we're back here at 5:15 for the video keynote. We've got eMarketer, we have Showtime, YouTube, and Marvel. And then if you're heading to the sessions, out the back door.